Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss the brand new 2022 Disney Plus original film, Not at the Museum, Kahmunrah Rises Again. This is very quick, hour, 20 minutes long. This was made by Atomic Cartoons. It's a British Columbian-based production company. They've done a few different Disney projects. They've done the Angry Birds movie. They've done a lot of Sony animation stuff. So it's not technically a Walt Disney animated feature film. It's a Walt Disney produced animated feature film from Atomic Comics, co-produced by 20th Century Fox, because 20th Century Fox is owned by Disney. So that's how the Night at the Museum franchise comes to Disney Plus as an original 2D animated feature film. Is the fourth installment in the series that we got. So the first three are live action. This fourth film is cartoon. So we're at the 3 year later mark at the very end of the third film. So the very end of the third film, Tilly, the night guard from the British Museum, played by Rebel Wilson, brings the tablet of Kahmunrah back with the British Museum artifacts, some of them, Kahmunrah is one of them, to New York. Museum of Natural History, so the Museum of Natural History is back up and running again, and everybody's dancing and having a grand old time, right? So, this starts out at that 3 year later mark. Nick is now 18, and he says, I'm 18 years old. So, we know he was 15 in the third film, so we finally get a confirmation on his age. But, the tablet is still in New York. Tilly's not there anymore. Kahmunrah's not there anymore. But there's a new statue of Kahmunrah locked in the basement, which escapes. And there's a new Joan of Arc exhibit. So, was Joan of Arc part of the British conservation deal? Why was Kahmunrah not in this film? Did he go back to England with Tilly? And if he went back to England with Tilly to stay with his parents at the British Museum, awesome, because that's what the whole purpose of the end of the third film was, that Kahmunrah deserves to be with his family. He's supposed to be with his parents. Why is the tablet not with them? Why is the tablet back in New York? What kind of deal was done behind the scenes where the tablet stays in New York and Kahmunrah goes back to England? It was not discussed. It's a very gray area. That's a very big fill in the blank, and it's okay to fill in the blank. I don't need a full explanation. I would want some explanation, but I read there's a trivia thing that on IMDb that there was some legal issue with Rami Malek's estate in regards to why Kahmunrah couldn't come back into the fourth film. But I don't understand why, because none of the original cast voiced the characters again. You have Zach Levi as the voice of Larry Daly. You have Joshua Bassett as the voice of Nick Daly. So all the characters are not voiced by their original actors or actresses. I don't get it. And it's okay. I don't have to get it. I don't gotta get it. It's okay. Now, Nick is tasked by his dad, who's now the director of the Japanese Museum of Natural History. They didn't actually say which museum, just the museum in Japan he's now a director of. He needs a new night guard for the city, and Teddy Roosevelt, Sacagawea, they all are saying, get Nick to do it. He's grown up here. He knows us. He knows what to do. So Nick comes in. He's struggling with being a DJ, and nobody wants to listen to his music, and he likes this girl, Mia, and he can't ask her out because he's nervous. So he's got some stuff going on, teenage stuff. He's got to get that moxie back up. And so he inadvertently does not lock the basement as he's supposed to. And so Kahmunrah, a statue of Kahmunrah, who's supposed to be locked in the basement, escapes, steals the tablet of Kahmunrah, and instead of a world domination, he wants to bring chaos and mayhem and make the world rightfully his, but in a different route. So he takes the tablet and he goes to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, but they call it the Metropolis Museum of Art. So there had to have been a licensing copyright issue, but they referenced the Egyptian exhibits in the Met, and I know those quite fondly. I'm well versed in those. There's parts of a crab that was holding up one of the obelisks at Alexandria, right outside the library, that is there in the Metropolitan Museum of Modern Art. So, I am well versed in that, and I don't know, just something draws me to that crab every time I'm there, and it's in that exhibit where there's this giant tomb that was gifted to the museum from the Egyptian government about 100 years ago. So, it's interesting throwing a new museum in the mix, as we do with in all of the films. You had the Museum of Natural History, you have the Smithsonian, you have the British Museum. Now we have the Museum of Natural History and the Metropolitan Museum of Modern Art, which is called the Metropolis Museum. Again, had to be licensing issues. So Kahmunrah takes the tablet to bring to life the paintings in that tomb, in that temple that was gifted to that museum, to go back into ancient Egypt, because we know from the second film that you can actually go into different art portraits. So if you can go into an art painting, in theory, you can go into a temple painting, right? Same concept. So he goes back to ancient Egypt. The gang then follows him to stop him because he brings back Seth, the god of chaos. He's bringing Ra back. Is Khonsu in this? I don't think Khonsu's in this. So the moon god. So it was very interesting getting more Egyptian mythology thrown into this. And it's really cool because we have the Kane Chronicles series as a movie series coming to Netflix soon, which is about Egyptian gods and goddesses and all that stuff. We have the Percy Jackson, the Olympians TV series coming to Disney Plus, which is all about the Greco-Roman gods and goddesses and all that stuff. So it's great seeing these different mythological beings come into fruition within modern TV. So happy this is finally happening. It took a long time, but we're getting there. So to have these battles and bringing the jackals up from the underworld again, and the tablet was revealed why it's magical because of Khonsu's moonlight bestowing upon the gifts to the favorite son, Akhmun-Ra, not Kahmunrah, from their parents. Their father has a bust in one of the temple things that Kahmunrah but has a moment with, which is entertaining. But it's great seeing different versions of the same characters, as we've learned in the second film. There's a bust of Teddy Roosevelt at the Smithsonian, as opposed to the wax figure of Teddy at the Museum of Natural History. So it's a nice throw in. But figuring out that the tablet has a musical code as well as the magical code that it does in general. So Nicky figures that out, and he knows music, and he's got perfect pitch. So he uses his music skills to help close that, send Kahmunrah back to the underworld yet again. Granted, his father did it the first time in the second film. He's doing it the second time in the fourth film. And so he then gets everybody back to New York, realizing that a poster of the city, of the museum that Sacagawea gave him, could technically act as another portal to get them back from the ancient Egypt portrait to New York, so that nobody has to die within dawn coming in ancient Egypt. So he gets everybody back to the museum. Everybody pats him on the back. He does a great job, gets the courage, tries out for the band again, the jazz band again, with his DJing abilities with the band, asks Mia out, the ending of them holding hand in hand as they walk down the hallway. So what happens next? Nicky is now, the new night guard, as he's still finishing high school, as he's dating Mia, as he's in the jazz band. But it's cool. It was a neat passing of the torch. Literally, I don't have a flashlight near me. Oh, I do have a flashlight near me. Does it work? It works! This is an old flashlight. This is a Halloween flashlight from the 90s, people. Does it say what year? It does not. Anyway, these are called torches in England, right? So the passing of the torch from father to son, passing of the torch to father to son, I just think it's the coolest little throw in there, all the beautiful analogies and stuff. It's just great. It's a great franchise. It's a great franchise of history. It's a great franchise of learning from the past brings us to the present, and what happens next is what the future can be. It's beautiful. It's so well done, and this is the highest rated out of the four too. So I'm very interested to see if there's a TV series coming out after this. I'm very interested to see if there's a continuation of films after this. This is doing very well. And it's very good. It's very quick. It's not slow. It's not boring. It's very well done. I am very impressed with the franchise, very impressed with this film. On to the next review. Mucho mahalo.